Hey, I'm Sarah. When people asked me and my husband Matthew about our birth plans, our answer was simple. We're doing it at home. So this is a podcast all about our home birth journey. Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. I'm Sarah. Here with me is my amazing husband, a horror film enthusiast. It's starting to be fall and he's already getting into all the movies.
Oh yeah.
Watching them. This is Matthew. What's going on, Matthew?
Not much, Mama. I've watched 2 scary movies in 2 days. And do you know what has been so unique about those 2 movies I've watched?
I don't, because I didn't watch them, because that's not one thing we share together.
Well, what was so unique about them was that I didn't watch the movies alone. But the person I was watching them with wasn't you. What does that mean?
You have another girlfriend.
There's another love of my life. And she is a female.
Oh.
I think you know who she is.
Yes, I do.
Who is she?
Maya.
Woo!
Her little Maya bear.
Our beautiful daughter Maya, who you're probably going to hear in the background because as we're recording, she's laying on my chest right now. She was born 1 week ago.
Yes, exactly a week ago, September 11th, 2016.
So that means this is our very first episode of Doing It at Home where we are parents.
Yes, where we are parents.
So it's a huge milestone. And another thing that's different is we always record from our bedroom and in our bed, and we're doing that now, but our bed is shifted slightly.
Yes.
We normally will lie north-south, and now we're lying east-west. And we did that because you gave birth in this bedroom.
Yeah, something went on in here last Sunday.
That's so cool. And so I think that's the topic of our episode today, right?
It is. We're talking our birth story. We're talking our home birth story and anything, everything, all about it, details, the emotions, the circumstances. So yeah, we just wanted to get into it, and this is something not only really cool for the podcast to share our story, but for us, for our family archive, and for Maya to hear one day about the day and in such detail. And I wrote down as much as I could remember over these past couple days, because I knew with each passing day, the details might get a little bit blurrier, a little bit fuzzier. So I'm glad we're recording it fresh, within a week.
Yeah, and it's super cool that it is 1 week from when Maya was born. But I think our birth story starts the day before that. So Maya was born on a Sunday, but it really starts on Saturday the 10th.
Yes, because she was born Sunday morning, so...
Yeah, so how do you want to kick this off?
All right, well, let's give some backstory on where we were at in the pregnancy. We were a day shy of 41 weeks.
Okay.
So we were past the original guest date, and I know we've talked about guest date before, otherwise known as due date. So we had passed that, and we were now in the stage of just enjoying the time that we had. We were going on lots of dates. We were sleeping in. We were, spending time together, really maximizing this really sweet in between stage. And
which just to point out, it wasn't always so sweet.
No.
And we did an episode about the in between stage because it was this incredibly unique time. So we got to a place where we were able to enjoy that time, where we were able to really be present.
Yes.
Because we got anxious for a little bit, and we just wanted things to happen. But you're right, we got past our guest date and then just started to figure out how to enjoy that time.
Yeah. So that's where we were at. And now do an even bigger rewind to May of this year. I was looking at Father's Day gifts for you.
Yeah.
And I came across tickets to the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra playing here in Alpharetta, just outside of Atlanta, on September 10th, doing John Williams scores, John Williams music. So if you're not familiar, John Williams is an amazing musical composer who's done films from Jurassic Park to Harry Potter to Star Wars, of course. How could I not mention Star Wars?
That's what he's known for.
Yes. And I didn't even, total side note, realize the huge breadth of his work and how far back it went.
So like the 50s.
Yeah. So that's crazy. But Anyway, bought these tickets, was super excited to get them, but knew the date was a precarious one given our guest date. And I just kind of resolved, we get to go and I'm still pregnant, or we have Maya by then and Matthew goes with someone else. I did still purchase insurance on the tickets because I wasn't sure one way or the other how it was going to go.
Probably smart.
And yeah, so once we were past the guest date, someone actually asked us, I think it was at the chiropractor, asked, so, is there anything you might be subconsciously waiting for, or maybe something that baby is waiting for? Is someone coming, or is there some event or whatever? And I said, well, there's the John Williams Atlanta Symphony concert on Saturday. Maybe she's waiting for that.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, so Saturday rolls around and we did our normal Saturday stuff. We went for the run in the morning.
Yes. Well, you ran.
I ran and you hung out. And then we went and then we had a normal day. I think we were just hanging out at home. And the concert was at 8. And so we decided to go have dinner. But somewhere in probably the early part of the day, you started to feel, which we now know were the early signs of labor.
Right.
You felt what, like tightness in your...
My belly felt rock hard. It just felt so hard, and, it made getting into certain positions kind of uncomfortable, and I wasn't feeling any sensations of pain necessarily, but it was just that the belly was super hard, and maybe my breathing would change a little bit. So I acknowledged them as maybe like mini contractions, or as we referred to them, birthing waves. But I was in a state of thinking, well, this could go on for days. What this is. I'm just gonna not get too excited about it and just kind of lock in and figure this is gonna be for a while. That I'll just experience this off and on. So that's where I was at mentally with it.
Okay, so we're going through that, and then we go out to eat and had a normal dinner.
Yep.
And again, you were experiencing just a few of these waves every so often, and so we go to the concert. And one cool thing what happened was we parked our car and we got out of the car and we saw another pregnant couple.
Yes.
And they had hailed a golf cart to take them into the show, and so we got to ride with them, and it was beautiful because you didn't have to walk.
That was awesome.
And so we get into the show. We have almost front row seats, and it was outdoors, and it's September in Atlanta this time of year, and it was like low 80s, and it was hot, and so. We did our best to cool off, and I just remember loving the show, but at the same time knowing that you weren't 100% comfortable.
Right.
And, your feet were swollen, so I was rubbing your feet. It was hot out. The chairs were nice chairs, but, it wasn't like a lazy boy or a couch or a bed. But nevertheless, we enjoyed the show, and then I remember we left before the last song was complete because we wanted to beat traffic.
Yeah, make it to the car.
And I was like, I want to get you home.
Right.
I really want to get you home because you were not comfortable.
Right.
And basically we got back into the car and you were...
Yeah, we got back into the car. I remember sitting and thinking, oh, I don't feel very well. Like there was a shift, from walking to the car to then getting in, closing the door and thinking, I'm really not comfortable.
Yeah.
And like the hardness in the belly was continuing, but now
I had to pee
and there was this like intensity to it that I hadn't really felt before.
And it was like what,
about 11 p.m.
Was it? Yeah, okay, it was about 11 p.m. So it's like a little bit past our bedtime. Right. So you're also a little tired from a full day.
Sure.
And so I did my best to get home quickly, and when we got home, what did you experience, like, walking into the house? What did you start feeling?
Well, I was extremely relieved to be home, and then my thought was just, I need to get in the bathtub. I need to just get to water. It was like a fish who had been, ejected from the bowl or something. I was like, I need to get back to water. So yeah, just chilled in the bathtub for a little bit, hung out there, and then I was experiencing some frustration too because I wasn't sure what was happening. I didn't have any frame of reference, or I didn't have context for it. So I'm thinking, is this it? Is this not it? Is this gonna be days like this? Is this gonna, is this gonna go away?
Yeah.
So I appreciated your calm mindset and just problem solving approach to it, and that you said, why don't we just sleep through it? Why don't we just get in bed and go to sleep?
Yeah.
And we'll deal with it in the morning, kind of thing. And I appreciated that. And so that was the mindset I put myself in. And, we got in bed. But
Well, let's back up because 11 o'clock is when, well, like 11:30ish when we got home, you got into the bath. We didn't decide to go to bed until like 1.
it was that late.
Yeah, it
See,
was
this is
about
where from here on out, you're pretty much going to have to be on the
so
time situation because
yeah, so like neither of us were thinking that this was early labor. I think
right,
if we were to pull percentages, like 10% of me thought maybe this is early labor. 90% of me thought Sarah's just experiencing Braxton Hicks and she's tired and she just needs to go to sleep and sleep it off. And so 1 a.m. rolls around, which we had a couple of late nights that week. So I don't think 1 a.m. was so out there that we thought this must be it. But like 1 a.m. rolls around and we get into bed, and at that point you were having consistent waves.
they were more consistent at that point. Yeah.
Because you were experiencing waves in the tub, and waves which we now understand were the contractions.
Right.
And so you were experiencing the waves, and we're sitting in bed, lying in bed, and you're on your side. And I remember just having my hand on the small of your back, and you would experience a wave, and then it would calm down.
Right.
And I'm thinking, okay, well, we're gonna be able to fall asleep for a little while. But the waves were coming like every 5 minutes. It was quick.
Yeah.
And so we're laying in bed at 1 a.m. and 5 minutes turns into 10, turns into 20, and soon it's 2 a.m. and you haven't slept at all.
Right. I didn't sleep one wink.
And the waves were the same. They were uncomfortable, painful, coming about 5 minutes apart.
Yes.
And so what do we do at that point?
I went in and out of the bathtub. So from bed, I went back into the bathtub, and I think around 3, we called Debbie, our midwife,
Yeah.
and let her know what was going on. And you spoke with her for a few minutes, and then she got on the phone with me briefly. And what we established in that phone call was we were at a really nice, progressed early stages of labor.
And I remember between getting home at like 11 something and calling Debbie, who's the midwife, I remember doing two things: looking through Hypnobaby and reading about like what early stage labor looks like,
Right.
and then going online and looking at some other things, because not what we were experiencing was not at all like what I remember reading and being told early labor looked like. And the biggest reason was because the pain wasn't so extreme that you knew it was birthing pain.
Right.
And the fact that they were coming so fast.
Right.
Because of what my understanding was, when you experience the early contractions, it's like discomfort that you can have a conversation through, and it's like 30-40 minutes apart. But yours was discomfort that you had to like focus and breathe through.
Yes.
And it was like every 5 minutes.
Yes.
And so because that was happening and we didn't experience early labor because we didn't acknowledge it as that, I didn't think it was happening.
Yeah, so it's funny looking at it now, that early thing that you're referring to was all day Saturday where I was just going about my life.
Yeah, where we were at the gym, where we were at home, where we were at dinner. That's when you were experiencing the mild discomfort that you could talk through.
Right.
But we didn't really know. And so
then go into evening, and that was the more accelerated portion of the event.
Yeah, so 3 a.m.-ish, I called Debbie and I said, "Hey, Debbie, we're experiencing this." And very calmly, she's like, "Okay, all right, cool. This sounds like the beginning of labor. And what I want you to do is I want you to just keep track." Because at that point, I had been using my phone to track the start of each wave. Because that's how we would measure the distance and like the length of time in between them. You track the start of it.
The intervals.
Yeah, the intervals. And so I was doing that, and Debbie said, when they become 1 minute long and they are coming every 5 minutes, call me back.
Right.
And this was, I don't know, maybe 3:30, maybe close to 4 at this point. And I remember starting to track that, and within like 10 minutes, we got one that was a minute long, and that was lasting, that was 5 minutes apart.
Yeah.
And Debbie said, when that goes on for 1 hour,
right,
call me back. So I was like, well, we're here we are.
Right on time.
Yeah, it was like right after we called her. And, at this point, what's going on in my head is, okay, we are now at like middle stage of labor. Like it's almost time to assemble the team. And Sarah hasn't slept
Yeah.
and she's not going to get any sleep tonight. And she hasn't eaten since
Dinner.
8 p.m.,
Yeah.
which at that point, it's now what, like 4,
Yeah.
4 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
You hadn't eaten in 8 hours. And I was like, shit, that's probably not the best way to go into pushing out a baby.
Yeah.
Not having sleep and having very little food. And so that was like hanging in the back of my mind as like a potential fear, because I
Mm-hmm.
thought you might be really tired and low energy
Yeah.
when you're gonna need it most.
Yeah.
But I didn't say anything, and I just continued to give you fluids, water, juices, and really tried to get you to eat.
Yeah.
I made you a sandwich. I had you eat that. I think we had soup or something. I wanted you to eat that. And yeah, and so I tracked the contractions. And while in between that time, what were you experiencing from when we first called Debbie? Because that's when it was like confirmed that this was birth time. Where were you at that point, mentally, emotionally?
A little bit relieved, especially to hear that it was actual, like, active labor. It was active birthing time. That was a relief, because as it started to get a little bit more intense before we confirmed everything with Debbie, I was thinking, if this is not it, or if this is gonna be like this for a day or whatever, like I've heard, I don't know how I feel about this. I
Yeah.
definitely had that moment, and I had thoughts of, you know, we're doing this podcast, like doing it at home, and what if this ends up we tried to do it at home and it didn't end up like that podcast.
Yeah, we'd have to change the name.
We're doing it at home psych podcast.
Tried to do it at home.
Yeah, thought about doing it at home. So I that ran through my mind a little bit. Not, of course, like the podcast, but just this was what our vision was. And
Yeah.
probably somewhere in the back of my mind, I was thinking about the lack of rest, like you mentioned. I'm about to go into a marathon and I haven't slept, is basically, what I was equating it to at one point.
I totally get that. I mean, the discomfort you were feeling until you realized they were contractions. You're like, crap, like this is not comfortable,
Right.
and we haven't even started this whole process yet. So if I'm experiencing this much discomfort right now, what the hell is it going to be like when we're really in it?
Yeah, I definitely thought about that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
On the other side, though, we were listening to Hypnobabies. We were listening to the meditations and the music and the affirmations. And that was beautiful. Having that on while I was in the tub, being in the water, I was just, that was helping the experience so much. When I had been lying in bed, it almost made it worse to just be lying down in bed. You were amazing. I feel like that's when we were laying down, like, our strategy, if you will, in terms of our connection. And you were so supportive and loving. And like you said, you were trying to get me to eat and drink. You were giving me affirmations for myself. And one that I really held on to and used throughout the rest of the birthing time was being grateful for what I was experiencing. And, looking at each contraction, again, we refer to them as pressure waves or birthing waves, riding each wave, being in it. Like, you can't fight a wave or like brace yourself like against, like, there's a point where all you can do is go through it.
Yeah.
So riding it and being grateful for it, like being grateful for my body and what it can do and this experience that I've created. So that was a huge part of that time for me as well.
I want to go back real quick to what you said about being in the water, because for you families listening, consider adding water to your birth, however you can.
Oh yeah.
If you're choosing to go in a hospital, cool. If you're choosing to do it in a birthing center, cool. If you're choosing to do it at home, like we did, cool. Consider adding some sort of water element, whether it's a tub or maybe just a shower with a stool.
Yeah.
Because what I experienced with Sarah being able to labor in water was just it was insane the difference between you being in water and out of water.
Yes.
I mean, even when you got out of water just to use the restroom, it was like night and day in terms of um, your energy, your mood, the discomfort level that I saw. And when I saw you go from water to laying on the bed, when it was like 1 a.m. and we were trying to go to sleep and you'd been in water for an hour and a half, you were so uncomfortable laying in bed. But then you got back into the water and it was like you felt more relief.
Yes.
So for you families out there, for you women who are listening to this, who are pregnant and trying to figure out what works for you, I'll just say for us, water was amazing. And Sarah labored did 99% of her labor in our bathtub, but then we shifted to a baby pool,
Yes.
which I set up in the bedroom. It was part of our birthing plan was to have a baby pool, and the tell me what the baby pool is like for you.
Oh my gosh. So you, at this point, we had called Debbie again to let her know about the contractions. So that's 5 a.m.
So
ish.
it's about 5:30 a.m. I told Debbie, hey, the contractions are a minute long, coming now at this point about 3 minutes apart, and they've been happening for a long time. So that was a signal for Debbie to assemble the midwives and for them to come over. And my next action was to text message the team, the birthing team. And so once I did that, then I got into, okay, let's set the stage, basically.
Right. And you got the big kiddie pool, tub, whatever you want to call it, blow up, inflatable thing, and put it in our bedroom, and you filled it up with water. And when I first got to step and sink into it, it was just like, that feeling. Oh my gosh, it was amazing, and it was big. Our bathtub is pretty small, so this thing, my belly could be submerged. I could move around.
Yeah, your legs are fully stretched out.
Legs stretched out. I could lean over the sides of it because it had very thick, inflated sides to where either on my back, I could hook my arms over lying on my back, or kind of hunched over on all fours. I could lean over it, and I was so grateful for that tub. I'm so happy we got it.
Yeah, it was a really great foresight on our part, and I think great planning. I didn't have, when we started talking about home birth, I didn't really think about birthing in water. I knew that was an option, but it wasn't an option I truly considered.
Right.
And I don't think I really considered laboring in water, but that's what we did, and I'm so freaking happy we did that. And so, okay, so at this point, it's probably like 5:30, almost 6 o'clock. The room has it's beautiful because it's lit by some white Christmas lights that have been strung up around our bed and over the closet. So there's like this very, very soft light.
Yeah.
You're in the pool. I'm sitting behind you on a yoga ball.
Yep.
And I'm just sort of rubbing your back, rubbing your neck, rubbing your arms. We have the Hypnobabies affirmations playing in the background. So it's like meditation music with these beautiful affirmations like, my body is perfectly made for a happy, healthy labor or birthing time, stuff like that. So I'll be honest, that was my absolute favorite part of the entire experience, second to when Maya came out. But just the memory that I'm going to be able to have in my mind forever of me sitting behind you, us in that room. It's nighttime still, so it's dark out. It's early in the morning, so our phones aren't ringing. We don't hear traffic. It was just like the world, everything stopped.
Yeah, it was this. Yeah.
It was like everything paused. It was only you and I, and we had, I don't know, an hour plus just like that.
Yeah, it was very intimate and very sweet.
Yeah.
And such a beautiful way to kind of not close a chapter, to say, but just to transition into a new stage together, into a new time and a new experience.
Yeah.
So
to usher in.
Right. And then from that, from then until the time she was born, you could easily make the argument to me that was like 20 minutes.
When in reality it
Was
was
like another
3 4 hours.
yeah, another 4 hours roughly
So let's say, okay, now it's 6:30
ish. And
and
so
Debbie's arrived.
right at this point, in no, I don't remember the exact order, but everyone started arriving. Let's say between that stage and like right before she was born, everyone showed up. The team.
So it went, Debbie came first,
Mm-hmm.
and then Wendy,
Mm-hmm.
and then my mom,
Mm-hmm.
and then Day and Shonda,
Right.
and then Lacey,
Yep.
and then Nancy,
Right.
and Bill, who
Her.
was a surprise.
Yeah.
He was a wild card who we didn't know was going to be there. I'm guessing he drove Nancy.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
And that was the order and people arriving. And for me, when Debbie arrived, it marked the change from this being like a, just like, I don't, it was on. It was game time.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, this
It's
shit's real.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, this shit's real. The midwives are at our home for the birth of our daughter. This isn't like we aren't warming up anymore. It's just like I'm an NBA fan, as you know. It's like when you see before the game, they're out there and they're shooting baskets and they're doing drills, and then the whistle, the horn sounds, and it's time for the tip off.
They all get announced.
Yeah, like that's what that shit was. It was like,
Yeah.
now stepping into the room at 5'5" and
Mm-hmm.
Debbie, what's her last name?
Schneider.
Debbie Schneider, and she rolls in, and it was freaking game time.
Yeah, and for those of you wondering, like that sounds like a ton of people. Like that actually does sound like a sports team.
It
Like all
does.
those people for a birth. Well, yes, it is a lot of people. It depends on who you are. That can seem like a lot of people. But we'll be talking in another episode entirely about choosing your birth team. But
Oh, we
just
haven't
to,
done an episode on that yet.
I don't think so.
Oh, cool, because
Yeah.
that's gonna be a great one because we were so intentional.
Right.
Go
So just to touch on that for, a second, as far as for us, everyone was chosen very deliberately and had very specific roles. So while it may seem like a lot, when I look at it now, the way it all played out, it could not have played out more
It was perfect.
awesomely.
Perfect.
For instance, the midwives, given they're there serving their purpose, and then Day and Shonda were kind of like a male and female doula to each of us. I really wanted Matthew. We wanted Matthew to have strong, powerful male energy there to just kind of be a part of the experience, and Shonda was like a doula for me, and your mom there to just be a
Be a
support
mom.
and be a mom and
Jeez.
and experience the birth of her first grandchild, and Nancy, just this awesome get shit done person. And
And like
it,
record keeper.
yes, yeah,
She
yeah,
wrote.
wrote
She
down everything that
she
happened.
did a play-by-play.
Yeah.
I mean, she has pages of it that I haven't seen yet, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a play-by-play of what went down. And she was also, I think, key in documenting with photos and video,
Yeah.
which we have a freaking ton of.
And so, it might seem like a lot, but it really didn't. It never felt crowded to me. It meant that everyone was taken care of. Matthew got breaks, when I was still going through waves, and you got to go eat. People made food for you. People made sure you were drinking and staying hydrated and taking care of
Which
yourself.
I wouldn't have done
You would
otherwise.
not have done. And, you think you hear about hospital births where, they usher in a team of interns or,
Med students
janitors,
and
and
stuff.
everyone are in there doing their thing. You could have up to like 10 or 11 people in your room that you don't know.
Yeah.
So what about having people that you do know who are going to be there to raise the energy of the place? And when you're in that stage, as I can attest to now, you don't care how many people are in the room.
And I'll make this last comment about our team. My sister really wanted to be there for the birth of Maya, but we decided that she could come after Maya came, because again, we were very intentional about who we wanted in the room. We wanted people in the room had
Witnessed birth.
who had witnessed birth or experienced birth.
Right.
So everybody in there had been at a live birth, had helped at a live birth,
Had given birth to a baby
and had
themselves.
given birth to
Yeah.
multiple kids. So each person in that room was there to support you from a place of experience, from a place of coaching, and any one of them could have stepped in if need be. And
Right.
so, we did have a number of people there, but we intentionally left out
Mm-hmm.
people who had you could make a huge case for, and they did. You know, my mom and my sister made a huge case for why my sister should be there. So yeah, we had a number of people there, but man, that was a fucking all-star team,
Yeah.
and I would have not changed a thing.
No, and to add to that, you said the coaching. I think about now that whole experience, everything that was done for me to help me move through the waves. If you had been doing every single thing that everyone collectively did, I mean, you would have
I've
been
been exhausted.
short-circuited by the end of that experience. You would have just been fried. What I mean by that is awesome technique. Debbie showed us a way, for me to move through the waves. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, the hip
Yeah, so
pitch.
basically a fist on either side at the hip joints, kind of pushing in like a clothespin
Yeah.
to assist in kind of taking on the sensation. And at any given point, everyone did that for me. The midwives themselves, you, Day, Shonda, your mom was doing it. And I had support people physically doing that to me probably almost every single contraction I went through
When we started it.
from when everyone came. Yeah, from when we started doing that. And that's like hard man labor. People were assisting me in and out of the tub, helping me walk down the hallway when they wanted me to move around.
Rubbing your back.
Yes, rubbing my back, all kinds of stuff, getting me juice, wiping me down with cold towels. So
Yeah,
there was a lot of labor by everyone.
yeah, and I'll admit that I did not truly understand how big my role would be. Like I
How big it could be, because
it
there are
could be.
some,
Yes.
dads that don't, and everyone's different.
Very true. Like how big my role could be and would be for our dynamic and for
Yes.
what you were wanting. So from coaching you through the waves and having you, all right, babe, ride the wave, experience it, feel everything about it, be grateful for it because it means you're opening up and your body is getting ready to release Maya. Experience the wave. Okay, it's coming down. Know that it's coming down. It's going to be over quickly. Okay, breathe. Like that sort of coaching and doing that every 5 minutes. And like you said, all the other things, like I had no idea that's what my role would be. And I'm very grateful that I had someone there to cook me food so I could step out for 10 minutes and just do little things because it was tiring for me as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Let's
okay,
see. I'm
so
trying to remember some details. So,
let's get back to the timeline though.
yeah, so everyone has arrived at this point,
And
and then
let's,
just more laboring continues.
so by what, like 8, probably everybody had arrived.
Yeah,
And you'd moved around in the tub. You've
moved around
gone
in
from
the
your
tub.
from sitting to on all fours to, kind of over the edge,
Yep,
and
yep.
you've done your just this amazing breathing techniques, like just really tapping into your breath. If
Yeah.
anybody's done yoga, think of some of the yoga breaths, like in your nose, out your mouth, and just sticking with that and flowing with your breath. I mean, what did Day say? He's like, no wave is as big or powerful as your breath.
Yeah.
No wave is as powerful as your breath. And so you've been doing that, and you had one quick check to see your dilation. I don't remember when that was, but you were what, like 2 centimeters?
I don't even know, and I'm glad I didn't know, because if I had heard 2 or 3, I probably would have
Yeah.
flipped my shit. So I'm glad I didn't know. But yeah, that was the one of 2 times they checked me. And let's see what else is going on. Those waves, man, it reminded me, you were talking about the breathing. I mean, I don't know how it is for other women. I haven't talked to a whole lot of others who've experienced a home birth like this and how they move through their waves, but what a powerful, oof. I just kept reminding myself of what you said. Be grateful, be
Yeah.
grateful. And then what was cool about it was seeing that there was a peak and then a trough to it.
Yeah.
And so it was climbing, but then once it hit that peak, I knew it was going to come down. Like I could experientially like feel what that was like and what it was doing. And in the kind of working out we do, the kind of training we do, and the breathing exercises we do in like our daily lifestyle, I was utilizing all of that. I just kept picturing sitting in a long squat hold like I do and
Mm-hmm.
have done for a couple of years now. And it might sound silly, but it's like the training, the
Yeah.
training really supported me when I needed it and really helped carry me through some of those really powerful waves.
Yeah, and it would be kind of cool. Let's describe a squat hold. And if you're at home right now, or you're at the office, or you're somewhere where you aren't driving or aren't on a bicycle and you can actually do this, we invite you to do this. So stand up and go stand near a wall, and you're essentially doing a wall sit.
Mm-hmm.
So, put your feet about
Hips width
apart, about 18 inches in front of the wall, and just slide down the wall until your butt gets parallel to the floor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your thighs are
Yeah, your
parallel.
thighs are parallel to the floor. Your toes are right underneath your knees,
Yep.
and your hips and your feet are hip distance apart. Your feet are hip distance apart. Your back is straight and your arms are out. And just sit there. And just sit there.
Yep. And sit there a little bit more.
And sit there a little bit more and feel as your legs start to heat up. Now, do that for 1 whole minute, and as you start to heat up, breathe.
Right, right.
Breathe deeply in through your nose, pause, breathe deeply out through your mouth. And that'll give you an idea of what the squat holds were
Yeah.
that Sarah had been doing for 3.5 years. That when we talk about, like, we feel like that could have been a little bit of training. It absolutely was,
Yeah.
because you were sitting in the fire,
Yep.
as we say, and the sensation grows every second. The discomfort in your legs and your back and your butt, it grows.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that you stay with it is you become very present.
Mm-hmm.
You experience it. You allow the feeling to just flood through your body, and you breathe through it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what you did through every pressure wave.
Right. Flow. The difference between that and resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, that's just a kind of a little thing to show you, like, sit in those things, and I guarantee you'll be able to sit in any circumstance
Right.
life throws at you. But
And this is not to say I was a total little Buddha the whole time. I definitely had a few
no,
moments of, okay, fuck this.
you did.
Let's see. There's like top two or three. One, I had this searing pain at a very localized spot in my lower left back area. Nothing was making it feel better. People were trying to rub it. That actually made it feel worse, like it was sensitive to the touch, but it would not go away. So even when I got breaks from the contractions, I was still feeling that pain in my back. And it was just crippling. Like I was hunched over like an old Disney witch. And come to find later, Miss Maya came out with her left hand, her fist up by her face, and her elbow poked out. And that's exactly what was digging
Her
into
elbow.
my lower back for probably the last third of the birthing experience. So that was definitely no picnic. I would say also I threw up, which I was not anticipating or expecting. I didn't even know happened. I didn't even know that happened much in labor.
Yeah, me
It makes
neither.
sense, but I didn't think it was going to happen to me. They wanted me to go walk up and down the hallway. Got up, felt really weak, and all of a sudden just slowly made it down to my knees and just puked, and was puking while having a contraction. So here I am trying to like breathe through the contraction, but I can't breathe because I'm puking. And as we had mentioned earlier, I hadn't eaten all that much, so I'm
Yeah,
just puking bile, which if anyone's done that, it
it's gross.
tastes disgusting.
And you just come out of the tub, so you were wet
Yeah.
in a towel.
Yeah.
So by the time you had sort of like flopped down
Yeah.
to your knees, you were naked
Yep.
with a wet, damp towel draped over you, with a bucket that I'm holding
Yep.
underneath you. You're puking. There's like snot coming out of your nose. Like, it was straight up glamour.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That was the real. Um,
So then after that happened, we got you back up, I think, into the tub for a
back
little
in the
bit.
tub for a while.
You labored and labored and labored,
Yep.
and then you had to go to the bathroom,
Yep.
or they told you to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
And so we went up to the bathroom. That was actually the first time you said, "This hurts."
First and only time
Yeah.
I really like. I didn't think about buckling. It's not like I thought about packing it all in, or, fuck this, we're going to the hospital. But it was just an acknowledgement. And I think that's totally okay for ourselves to
Yeah.
acknowledge, like, listen,
This
this
shit is
is a bit
uncomfortable.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it was. I remember sitting on the toilet, staring at you, like looking deeply into your eyes, which I did a number of times throughout the whole experience.
Yeah.
We locked in a lot. And I just looked at you and I just said, this hurts.
Yeah.
This really hurts. And I think it was just a combination of the waves, the back pain, everything. And I think it's really interesting that we came out of the bathroom then after having that little moment together, and the birth stool was set up. I
Yeah.
hadn't seen that before in the room. And Debbie, our midwife, said, okay, why don't you sit down and we'll check you out. And it was like, and now looking at it, was such a cool thing to like have that experience like we did at the bathroom, because it's like I left in the bathroom
Yeah.
whatever it was that was like this little demon that wanted to convince me that I couldn't do it, or
Yeah.
whatever. Because then we came into the bedroom, sat down, and that's when things started to really change.
Yeah. So you sat down and Debbie did the second
Check.
exam. Yeah, the second check, and she says, "Okay, you're fully dilated."
And my water broke when she did that. So not only was I 10 centimeters as she checked me, but in the process of her checking me, my water broke.
And we were like, "Holy shit, you're 10 centimeters?" Because
Yeah.
no one in the room had any idea that you.
I didn't.
I had no clue how we were progressing.
Mm-hmm.
So when they were like, "You're 10 centimeters," and Debbie says, "Okay, I'd like for you to try and push." And I think when I heard that, I just thought it was like well, you try to push and then you can't push, so you labor some more, and you try to push again, and then like 12 hours later, the baby comes out. I had no clue that like this was gonna be the start of you pushing out Maya.
Yeah.
And so we'll set the scene now. So you're out of the pool and there's a birthing stool next to you, and it's not a stool. It's sort of like a chair with no back that the bottom has been taken out of.
Yeah, imagine like an assisted toilet is kind of what it makes me think of, like for people who can't move around as much,
Yeah.
like because it has like a bucket thing under it. And
It was interesting.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
was an interesting thing that you could sit on, and it had these railings that you could hold
Hold
on
on
to
to.
and brace. And so you were sitting on that.
Mm-hmm.
I sat behind you because I was gonna brace you
Mm-hmm.
from behind, and my arms were either in one of two positions. I had my hands on your shoulders,
Mm-hmm.
or like my forearms that kind of wrapped around you on your shoulders, or I had my arms actually under your arms,
Yeah.
almost like I was about to do like a full Nelson.
Yeah.
But my hand, my arms would be under your arms, and I was there to brace,
Right.
because as you were pushing, I knew you were gonna want something to brace against. So we're sitting there, and Debbie says push, and you did the first push, and what'd you feel?
Not much of anything. And to add what I was experiencing, like mentally, you said how you felt when she said it's time to start pushing.
Yeah.
When she said time to start pushing, I was almost like, really? Are you sure though? Are you sure? It was that feeling of, you want to do something, or you want to go somewhere or experience something, and now someone's like, okay, here, like now's your chance, like we're pregnant and I want to have this baby. Like, okay, well, it's time to have this baby. Are you sure though? Am
Wait,
I ready?
Are we supposed to wait like
Maybe let's just wait. We could just
yeah,
hang out. Maybe.
like 30 more minutes? Let's just wait. Let's go back in the tub.
And so she, tried to direct me, like you just said, how and where to push and what to feel for. And at first it was just kind of lost it on me. The very first one, I thought, okay, well, this just seems like you want me to poop, like that kind of feeling. And apparently the muscles are super similar. I mean, they are very close.
That's what Lacey said.
Yeah.
Like, after the first two pushes where not much happened,
Right.
Lacey was like, okay, you know that feeling when you're trying to push out a poop?
Yep.
That's what I want you to do.
Yeah. So that made a little bit more sense. And then after the second attempt, the second like trial push, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I get this. I feel it. And really something just kind of like I locked in, because I had this feeling of, oh, I can do this. Like I can be active and engaged in this. Like this, it was such a nice treat. I can't even believe I'm using that word. After the waves, because the waves is just total surrender. You let them take you where they're going to take you, and you just work on staying within body or out of your body, wherever you want to be, but you just have to focus on that. And then with pushing, I was like, yes, like give me something to do. Like, yes, like I was excited. I was like, oh hell yeah, I can do this. Um, and that's what ensued was coaching on, as I felt the wave, deep breath in, let it all out, and then another in, and then push, and see if I could get 3 of those
while holding your breath.
Yeah, 3, inhale, hold, pushes with each contraction, and that's what happened for the next 40 minutes.
So since I will never really understand what it's like to push a baby out, obviously. Can you describe for me, like, quickly, I don't want to, we don't have to get into this, but I know what it's like to push out a poop. So what are you pushing that's different than pushing out a poop to push out a baby?
Okay, I mean, I know I've done it. I still wouldn't deem myself like an expert or anything, but if I had to explain it, it's just literally that, but like times 1,000.
So if I was to sit on the toilet and just grab the frickin' porcelain and grit my teeth and just try to shit as hard as I could, like that's sort of what it's like to sit on the birthing stool and
Pretty much. For me anyway. That's just I just kept likening it to that.
So I'm getting graphic now, like was your booty hole like opening? Like
I don't know exactly what it was doing.
Yourself?
I am pretty sure I pooped a little bit. I'm pretty sure because there was that bucket under me. So
I had no idea.
I think so, unless something else was coming out of me. Yeah, I so didn't. I was like, I do not want to shit myself while I'm giving birth, and I know it happens, and like, who the hell cares? But it was just something I had in my mind that like I did not want to happen for me, and so I don't think it was like anything to write home about. But
I didn't even know.
I'm pretty sure a little bit.
Oh, you know what? Let's go to the film. We have it all on tape.
We'll confirm that for you.
Yeah, we're gonna go and look to see if
back
there's
to the highlight reels. But anyway, to best answer your question, but just more intense and greater like surface area of that feeling, because obviously she's coming out of my vagina, so it just radiates more to the different parts of your downtown area.
All right, so we're on the birthing stool, and in total, you pushed for
40 minutes.
40 minutes, and so you're pushing, and I remember Debbie gave you another little exam, and she said, okay, Maya's head is about 1 inch away from your vaginal opening. And so she just coached you on, all right, I really want you to dig deep. And Lacey was great. She's like, push until you feel like you can't go anymore, and then keep pushing. Yeah. When you hit that wall, when you feel like you're exhausted, keep pushing. Yeah. And what I saw from you is you were doing the whole like hold your breath, push 1, 2, push 3 times, and you were breathing. When Lacey was like lock in and Debbie said you're 1 inch away, you fucking locked in. You were doing 5, 7, 8 pushes with 1 breath, and I'll be honest, I was sitting there half expecting you to faint.
Which I almost kind of did for like a second, if you remember. I was coming out of a push, and I felt it go dark a little bit and the little fuzzies, and I kind of went forward ever so slightly. And that's when Debbie was like, okay, lean back on Matthew. And then they got me some juice. And I had just like, it was a millisecond of like, oh fuck, what if I pass out? Yeah. Like, that is not going to be cool. And then I thought, no, get back. Like, don't even think about that. You can't go there. You can't go to a place of thinking you're going to pass out.
Dude, I mean, so I was bracing you, and I was every, like, fiber in my arm. And I was using my arms and my back and my abs. So, like, my core and my arms. Because I was sitting on a ball. And that was really what I was using to brace you. I was using all my strength to brace when you would lean forward and grit and push. And I was like, holy shit. There was more than one time I'm like, I think Sarah could pass out from pushing this hard. Mm-hmm. And I just decided, like, I'm not moving. Mm-hmm. If you're going to be sitting there pushing as hard as you can, I'm going to be bracing as hard as I can. Oof. And
you were doing the most. You were feeling it.
Well, you were doing the most.
Well, yes, but like as a supporter.
I was supporting you. And so, okay, so we're pushing, and we get to the point where now you can see her head.
Yeah.
And Debbie says, reach down, you can feel her head. So what was that like?
It was really surreal. First of all, it didn't feel like what I thought it would feel like a head. Like it felt mushy and
let me just clarify. Her head was she was still inside. She wasn't crowning, but she was just
just there,
just inside. So like maybe at that point some wisps of hair had fallen down, but she her head wasn't out. It was just you could go inside your vagina and feel her.
Yeah. Which, let's make a note too. So there's levels to which the baby can be engaged into the pelvis.
Yeah.
Ranging from like -5 to like
5.
Okay, 5.
Yeah, it's -5 to 5, and there's terms. I forget the terms.
Right, but it's just like letting you know once they're like engaged.
Is that one of the terms?
That's for the cervix. No. Let's just.
Sorry.
Yeah, let's just -5 to 5. And Debbie informed me after everything that even when we went into pushing, we were in pushing. She was at -2. And so that means in 40 minutes, because we were a team, Maya and I, we brought her down into the world from -2.
Yeah.
And
and we were doing a crap ton of stuff before labor even started to get her from -5 to the 0.
Yeah.
The 0 mark.
It wasn't happening.
And because that's when she becomes engaged.
Right.
Again, there's a term for it, or I wish I knew what it was. Maya's sleeping on my chest right now, so I don't want to get up and get the Hypnobaby booklet, but I feel like it sounds stupid, but to get her from the -2 down to 0, that's what she wanted to happen before labor started. Mm-hmm. So then, during your pushing, you went from -2 to 0 to then +5, and so so you felt for the head and it felt mushy.
Yep.
Didn't really feel like a head.
Yeah. At first I was like, I don't think I felt it. And she goes, that thing that she described. I said, oh yeah, well I felt that. And she said, yes, that's the head.
That's wild. And if we could set the stage, right? So you're sitting in the stool still. I'm behind you. Bill is standing in the doorway with like a hand on my back to just send me energy, just to be like, dude, I'm here for you. And everybody else is facing us like we're a movie screen and they're the audience. Like, Debbie's right in front of you. She's sitting on the floor, like eye level with your hoo-ha.
Yep.
Lacey and Wendy, the other midwives, are behind her. And then on the bed are my mom, Shonda, Day, Nancy, all with camera phones.
Yep.
Because they were like filming this event.
Yeah.
And so you kept pushing, and all that I could hear were their reaction to seeing Maya pop out and go back in.
Right, because you
pop
couldn't
out
see,
and go back
right?
in. I couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
Because I was behind you.
Right.
I could not see what was going on down there. So talk to me when she's crowning. What are you feeling her crown, or are you just pushing, feeling pressure?
I could feel it move lower. I could absolutely feel it move lower. And like it's called the ring of fire, like when it gets like basically when it's imminent,
because it burns.
Yeah, like the
your
ring,
vagina skin burns.
Just burn, like everything burns.
Yeah, like what kind of burning? Like you got a sunburn and someone slaps it, or like you just
like
ate a bunch of
muscular burning.
Yeah, what am I talking? Not like an actual burn, dumbass. so like you're in a workout and you're like doing curls.
Yeah, so
and
like
it just burns like hell.
Like when you reach what's it called? Like muscle
fatigue.
Yeah, muscle like overload, and that's when you would like drop the weight. You would stop. It's the point where you would stop doing whatever it is you're doing, because that's the indication. Hey, dummy, this is gonna hurt you. But that's where you have to move through.
So you did. So you.
But I was very
through.
clear on that. Yeah, when they were saying when you reach that point, like where you think you have to stop, like that's exactly what you just like Kool-Aid man through a brick wall do.
Oh yeah.
You bust through that shit. So one thing that was interesting for me was watching the video now of the birth is how I was vocalizing and moving through the experience. That was one thing I felt kind of not weird about, but I wasn't sure how I was going to show up. Was I going to be quiet? Was I going to be the mom who's just like, and then there's this baby. Was I going to like sound all melodious? And
we're going to scream
was
like
I gonna
bloody
scream?
hell.
Yeah. I was pretty vocal. There was some.
You were like, Yeah, continue, and then I'll give my 2 cents.
So how I experienced it, watching it, in it, I couldn't tell you how I was at all. That's all a blur. But now watching it, I think like, okay, if I had never watched a birth before, and this is one of the midwives' videos that they sent home with me to watch, I probably would be like, ooh, that looks like it hurts. But having been in it and watching it, I just look at it as that's how I was expressing myself in it, and I would not relate to the experience or share with someone that it was the most painful thing ever, that it was horrible, that I was in agony as I was sitting on that bench. I guess it's all in the eye of the beholder, like how you experience it. And so it makes me think of now the videos where I watched women where I thought they were like freaking out. Maybe that's just how, in their mind they weren't. And that
Yeah.
is just what was organically expressing or coming out. So that was fascinating just to watch what noises I made and how it looked and what my face was doing.
Yeah. And for me, I remember, so we had the bedroom window. We have one window in our bedroom, and we had it cracked open because we had the hose draining the baby pool. It was going out of the window, so it could drain to the backyard. And so that meant the window was open. And I just remember during some of your screams, I was like, damn, I wonder what the hell the neighbors are thinking is happening. Because there was a few times where you were loud.
Yeah.
You were just like, just. And I was thinking to myself, oh man, like the neighbors are probably thinking someone is having a baby in there.
Yes.
Because it's like,
We should call the cops.
yeah, it's like 10 o'clock in the morning and it's quiet on a Sunday. They're leaving for
Sleepy
church or
town,
something.
yeah.
And there's this, because we live in a quiet neighborhood. So, your vocalizations ramped up.
Mm-hmm.
And when they were at their peak, they were loud. And so I think if I would say a 10 being the loudest, like holy shit, that lady's lost her mind type of birth, and a 1 being just a person who doesn't make any noise. At your loudest, I'd probably say you hit like a 7,
Okay.
maybe an 8,
Okay.
maybe an 8. But yeah, I totally remember thinking, oh, I wonder what the hell the neighbors,
Yeah.
what's going through their heads right now.
Oh yeah.
This what is it? What's the term? This crunchy family over
Yeah,
here
granola.
this granola family giving birth at home, and so anyway, so
All right, so let's birth.
all right, so Maya crowns,
Yep.
and everyone's like, she's here. She's just a few pushes away. So you start just bearing the fuck down
Oh
and
yeah.
just going in like a mad woman. Just
She's getting out.
she's getting out, and Debbie actually says, okay, there's some meconium.
Yeah, there
Right?
was in the waters.
Oh, and the waters
when
broke.
they broke. Yeah, so that was something they wanted to be aware of and mindful of. Meconium being, the first poop, basically.
And the reason why you want to be aware of that is because if it's floating around in the amniotic fluid
It can.
and baby breathes it in, like takes it into her lungs, that's not stuff you want inside of you.
Right.
And so that was interesting when she said that. It was sort of like, okay, that's the situation and we'll handle it.
Right.
Cool. Let's keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
So Maya's crowning, you're pushing like all hell, and her head pops out. What did that feel like?
Oh my god. So like she's coming out, like
She's
it's
coming out.
I mean, in the video you see, I'm just like, like I'm like, what the hell? It's like this face. I'm like, what? And I use this word for every single time I explain to someone when they ask how I felt. I was stunned. I was in a stunned space of. I saw her come out. I saw Debbie grab her and put her up to me, for me to grab her onto my chest. And I had, I was not here. I wasn't here. Like, there wasn't this thought of like, this is my baby and I'm going to hold her. And I just was staring in complete awe and shock and all of it.
Exhaustion,
Like,
I
I had to
imagine.
be brought back into life, in this weird kind of stage I was in between two worlds. It's like I had to get pushed back into this one to process what was happening. It was unreal. Unreal to see her come out, and she didn't make any noise, which is a little, not super typical. I guess you would just expect to hear a baby cry, and so to not hear any noise at first, I was like, is everything okay? But they assured me that everything was fine, and she was just a quiet, little peaceful
Yeah.
nugget.
Yeah, so when we were getting close, when like when Nancy was like, I could see hair, I started to feel like I was about to cry when I was bracing you, and I would just I'd push it back in. I'm like, not yet, Matt, not yet. And so as her head comes out, and so basically I couldn't see anything going on down there. I was just viewing everyone else's reaction.
Yeah, and taking that in as what was.
And as everyone was getting closer with, like, they were inching closer and closer, and they were like, oh my God, like, I knew stuff was happening. So when she came out, it was like the room had an orgasm, like, oh!
I love that.
It really was. Like, the room had an orgasm, and everybody was like just crying and making all these amazing, like, oh my gosh, noises. And Maya comes out, and she makes one quick, like,
yeah,
like one super quick little noise that made me think, okay, she's alive.
Right.
And then they put her on your chest, and I lost it. And you see it in the video. I just start crying, and she looked beautiful. At the same time, she looked like a creature that had been inside your body for 9 months. She was, covered in all the, like, the vernix, and just didn't, her coloring was very different. But it was so interesting because I remember watching the birthing videos and being like, wow, that looks beautiful but strange. But man, when she came out, like, I just wanted to hug her. And so she comes out, and she's placed on your chest, and I just remember, or no, she's put in your arms because you're still sitting. I just remember thinking, holy shit, we did it. Holy shit. Sarah birthed our baby that we've been talking to and feeling kick and watching grow for 10 months.
I still.
It's like, wow.
Yeah, I can't. And then, there was a quick little reality check in that, like right after that happened, very calmly but super deliberately, the midwives were like, everyone needs to get the hell out of the way because we have to get Sarah to the bed because, unbeknownst to me, I guess I was bleeding a ton.
So, yeah. So, and you were in your realm of, like, still in the shock.
Yeah.
So I could see that in your face. So
I wasn't processing anything that was happening at that moment.
What I experienced is they stand you up. You're holding Maya.
Shuffled me.
The birthing stool is about 5 feet from the bed. They shuffled you to the bed. There was a trail of blood.
Oh, yeah.
A trail of, like, horror movie red blood that was behind you. And I thought to myself, oh, shit. I thought to myself, like, like the most terrible thing that I can imagine looks like it's about to happen. Like, Sarah's bleeding out, or you know what I mean? Like,
we never talked about that. You were thinking that? You're really scared?
I was scared as hell, but, like, what overrode was me going into support, partner, husband, dad mode, because, like, I couldn't sit there and just I could have just reacted,
right,
and just freaked the fuck out. But first of all, that's not me.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever freaked out like that.
that.
But just seeing that much blood, like, it was like a sploosh of blood. And so they pulled you in the bed, laid you down, and I immediately just put myself in between you and what they were working on. I didn't want you to see all that. I didn't want you to, like, be aware that had been going on. And I also wanted to look at Maya and just be like, oh my God. So that feeling overrode, like, we just gave birth, feeling overrode any of the fears. And I completely surrendered and trusted that the midwives knew what to do.
Right. And they did. What they are pretty sure it was placental detachment. And that's just where it becomes detached from the uterine wall. And in doing that, there was just a lot of blood that came with that. And as soon as they laid me down, they were checking on Maya. And as they were doing that, they shot me with Pitocin, which they, carry in doses only for hemorrhaging. And I was fine. I was totally fine. So it's a potential consequence of anyone going into birth anywhere.
Yeah, that could happen anywhere.
As long as it can be properly managed and safely and wisely, so that may be something that stirs up things for people who were considering home birth and, hear that and like, oh, well, she could have bled out. Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
you can bleed out anywhere. But it's really about understanding the consequences of the choices you make. And that's certainly one of them. And it was managed and handled. And,
You know what I will say, and I want to go back to a couple of things. With the Pitocin, what I remember when they first arrived, when Debbie first arrived, is she had like a big case with her.
mm-hmm.
And then when Wendy came, she had a big duffel bag with her. And then when Lacey came, she had 2 more bags with her.
Mm-hmm.
They were all filled with medical supplies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They had an oxygen tank with them.
They had multiple tanks. They had oxygen tanks. They had all sorts of sterilized things in packages.
Mm-hmm.
They obviously had Pitocin. Like, these women were so equipped
Mm-hmm.
to handle so many different things. I didn't really think about what tools they were going to bring. Like, I knew they were going to bring a birthing stool, and I knew they were going to bring a pump for the pool to put air in it. But like, for some reason, I didn't think about all that stuff. And when they arrived and they had all these different things to handle a number of different situations, like, I felt really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, damn, they're prepared. Like,
Yeah.
it never came up in our 7 months of conversations with them, but they were super prepared with all their equipment and them being able to just whip out the Pitocin and get you with it. Like, she's done that before.
Right.
That wasn't the first time she's done that.
Right.
And what also made me feel really great relief was that Debbie arrived at like 6:30 and she was there until 10. I'm sorry. She was there all the way through. So she got to watch what was going on with you and your body, and she got to see where you're at. So she was the best person to be able to assess what needed to happen.
Right. Right.
Because she had been there and she had seen it, and she, it wasn't like some of the stories I've heard about hospitals where like you're crowning and the doctor just comes in the room right then.
Right, or you might get different nurses, or you might get different doctors.
Yeah, like where they just come in for the the money shot. But like they were there the whole time, and so when you just talked about the Pitocin and being stuck with that, like that's made me remember, like, yeah, they came fully equipped. They were there the entire birth, and they ended up staying like 3-4 hours after Maya came.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
anyway, back to the
Prepared,
timeline.
not just in the sense of dealing with the bleeding, but I tore a little.
You tore
And a minor tear, and
a grade 2.
grade 2, I
Grade-
guess.
grade
I guess
2
there's
out of
levels
5?
to that. Yeah.
Or
I
level
think
2
so.
or whatever. So level 2
so.
tear.
They sutured me up in my own bed.
Sutured you up. They shot you with
Lidocaine.
with
to numb the
lidocaine to
area.
numb you, and then then
Stitched me
Debbie
up.
stitched you up right there, and that was another moment where I put myself in between you and them so that you wouldn't see what was going on, and we just marveled at baby Maya, and Maya was looking amazing at that point, and you had birthed the placenta. So the placenta was sitting in the bowl that we put popcorn in.
Yes.
We have this turquoise bowl that we put our popcorn in when we're watching movies. And so in that
Popcorn and
bowl
placenta.
was a placenta, and it was covered in like a bag or something. And then the cord was coming out of the bowl and was still attached to Maya. And they left the cord attached for a while to
Yeah.
get all of that
They let her get
rich blood.
everything she needed.
And so then they clamped it, and I cut the cord, and they tied it off. And then they were having you put more fluids and all sorts of things
Yeah.
back into your body. And I think the team, like, my mom and everybody who was there as support, they were just sort of like just talking about it and congratulating each other. And I'll tell you what happened with me. So I think this was probably before you got sutured. I had some tears when Maya first came out, but then that quickly stopped because the blood and getting you and going back into support mode.
Yeah.
When you were settled, when you were sutured, when Maya was okay, when I learned that she was fine because she didn't cry and she was a weird color, I thought something might be wrong with Maya. I really did. So I just continued to do what I do and support you, and as she was getting the mucus sucked out and all sorts of stuff, when everything was cool, when you were cool, when Maya was cool, I fucking broke down.
Wow.
I don't know if you saw this.
You didn't tell me.
I stood up and I gave a hug to my mom, and I just wept on her shoulder. She just rubbed my back, and then the next person next to me was I think, Nancy, I just wept on her
Aw.
shoulder. I ended up hugging and weeping on the shoulders of every person there.
Wow.
My mom, Nancy, Day. I just was crying my eyes out, hugging Day. Shonda, and then I went to all the midwives. I just cried on Debbie's shoulder. I cried on Wendy. I cried on Lacey. Like, it was so surreal for me to, like, I just think for me, man, it was 12 hours of being on.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like, I was on. I was support for you. I was getting things done. I was doing, just playing the role that I knew you wanted at that moment. And when you were safe and when Maya was safe, I could just drop it.
Yeah.
And
Release.
man,
Release, yeah.
I released. I remember that.
I I totally get it. I mean, for someone who chooses to be such a big role and such a big birth partner, your release is just as important as mine. Mine being her coming out and having that experience of seeing her out. It's like you need something too that does that. That creates some sort of like chemical hormonal release. Like I totally get it. I'm so glad you had that. I didn't know. I think that's beautiful.
I didn't expect that to happen,
Yeah.
but it happened when I hugged my mom. Like, I felt it and I just let it go. I didn't try to fight it. And then when I hugged Day, like, it really came out. And so yeah, that was big.
So many feelings.
By the way, I have to acknowledge my strange altered voice. I kind of have morning voice because I think it's because I'm lying in bed and I have Maya on my
The
chest.
baby on you.
Yeah, so kind of if I'm sounding weird, that's why.
Yes.
But okay, so Maya is out. She's healthy. She's fine.
Yeah.
The cord's been cut. You're sutured.
Yeah. And they check her out, weigh
They
her,
they
measure
did
her.
they did the exam, which I was so excited for. Like, ever since we saw that in the videos and they talked about that, I couldn't wait to see them doing the newborn exam. And so she's laying on the bed on her back, and they just go through and check everything, make sure all her fingers and toes, and make sure she doesn't have, like, extra nipples or whatever. And, like, she's got 2 butt cheeks instead of 3. And then they did, like, kind of moved her legs around, and
Yep.
Lacey was like, okay, all her joints are in socket and everything. And
Aw.
they weighed her and they measured her. And what did she weigh?
8 pounds, 5 ounces.
Oof.
And she was 20 inches long.
20-inch little girl.
Yes.
And we'll put some pictures on the show notes.
Yeah.
Maya came out with blue eyes and blonde hair. Neither of us have blue eyes and blonde hair.
Neither.
I'm mixed race. So my mom's white, my dad's black. So I've got, like, this caramel, cocoa, super sexy skin. Delicious skin. And brown eyes. And you've got fair skin and brown hair and brown eyes.
I am Eastern European fair.
Where the hell did we make a blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby?
Something got mixed in there.
You've been doing something.
Okay.
Something. But she had some of my features. Like, everyone was saying
absolutely does.
she has my nose, and everyone says she looks like my little sister, who, they say that her and I look alike. So fascinating. Like, how did we create a blonde-haired... Now, her hair's changing. Her hair's a little bit darker now, but her eyes are still blue.
We'll see how it evolves over time.
Yeah. And we'll put stuff in the show notes, and by this episode, we're going to have our website up.
Yeah.
And the website is diahpodcast.com.
Yes.
And so you can find all the show notes for each and every episode there. So this one in particular, go there and, babe, let's put some photos from the birth.
Sure.
Let's put some ones that maybe we'll have to put some black bars.
Yeah, we're gonna
cover
have
up
to have
some nips and some naps,
some stars, and blur some things
but,
out.
like, shit, I mean, it's real, it's raw.
Yes,
so
let's do that. I like
all right,
that.
anything else from the birth that you want to comment on?
I mean, I could go on all day, but I do want to hear other people's home birth stories.
Yeah.
I want to hear what this inspired or maybe brought up for other people as well. So I'd love to just hear testimonies on home birth experiences and see how they compare to ours. I'd love to hear more of them. I've only heard a few up until this point.
Yeah. So if you have a home birth story, if you have questions, if you have feedback about our story, shoot us an email at hello@diahpodcast.com. Or you can find us on Twitter at DIAH podcast, and that stands for Doing It at Home podcast. And we totally want to hear from you. It was a beautiful, life-changing, just incredible experience. And I know that there are so many of you out there who have had one yourself, who are planning to have one, and who are just curious about them. So we want to hear from you. And with that, Sarah, you can take us on out of here.
I want to thank all of you for hanging out with us. I want to thank Maya for being such a baby angel.
She's been sleeping on me this
whole time.
She's literally like 6 inches from my voice.
Yes.
And she's been sleeping.
She's part of the squad now, the staff here at DIAH, and she'll be part of many future episodes, I'm sure. So just look for those little coos and ahs in the background of some of the audio tracks. So thanks so much again. We appreciate you all, and this is us doing it at home.
Peace.